Ladies and gentlemen, today we'll talk to us about District 37 skills on how to have an effective meeting. Angel was born and raised in the concrete jungles of New York City. Following his parents' advice, he worked hard in school and graduated from Manhattan College in 1992 with a Master's in Science in Chemistry. Today, Angel is a multi-entrepreneur owning an award-winning web design firm, internet franchise in Greensboro, North Carolina, and a professional speaker. Angel began his Toastmasters career in June of 2000 when he joined Triad Toastmasters. In the first few months, he was installed as Sergeant-at-Arms because he could get to the meeting earlier than anyone else. Then, with just 4 months with the club, he participated in his first contest and won the 2009 evaluation contest for District 37. He has served in various officer positions, was a past Area 62 governor, club mentor, successful club coach, and is president of the newly chartered Club Carolina Christian Toastmasters. He has achieved his Advanced Communicator Silver and Advanced Leader Bronze Award. He currently lives in Greensboro, North Carolina, with his bride Sharon of 9 years and their 3 children, Angelina, Nora, and Angel Gabriel. Welcome. Please help me welcome Angel Guerrero. Angel?
Welcome, everyone, to this webinar series on what to do when guests come to your meeting. Have you ever wondered and go back in your mind to the first day you walked into your very first Toastmaster meeting and what that felt like and what happened afterwards? Were you greeted well? Did you have a memorable experience? Did you join right away? It all comes down to what happened to you as the guest and what did those Toastmaster members do. And today my goal is to help you to get a few nuggets today on what I believe is some good practices to do to treat those guests to a memorable experience. As you can see on your screen, we're going to go over just 4 quick nuggets, the things to do prior to the guest's arrival, what to do with the guest upon arrival, and of course during the meeting. And then the most important aspect of the guest's experience will be the meeting after the meeting. Let's begin and try to understand what happens before the meeting. These are my easy environment tips. The first is easy to find. I don't know how many times you guys have traveled out of state, but anytime I do, I'm addicted to anything from Google Maps or MapQuest or anything of that nature to help me find my way. And in my car, I have a GPS to plug in that address and make sure it gets me to where I'm going. It's very important that you also have that in mind when you are putting together the information for your club. You must make sure that it is really easy to find, whether it be through GPS or a physical map, or perhaps once you're on the building, campus or grounds, to make sure that they can find their way from either side of the place that you have your club meeting. Because what can happen easily is you might see that guest show up late and they're already frustrated because they just didn't have adequate directions. So what I like to do is always make sure that the club website has a very good functional map, maybe connected to any type of GPS function, or especially in some cases, sometimes these roads are getting fixed, and I'll make sure to update that right away if there's some sort of landmark or detour that people have to take. But I think you get my point. It's extremely important that that club is always easy to find. If you're on a campus, make sure that once they get into the parking lot that they can find their way right to the building and door and room number. And don't forget, if you change your information at any time, make sure to update everything from your club website to TI's website and so on, so that all your directions and addresses are exactly right. The next thing is easy to navigate, and that's the room. A lot of times when those guests walk in, the first thing they want to do is be able to know that they're in the right place. And the way that is because there's somebody right there in the very front that's shaking their hand. And then that individual, of course, is shaking someone else's hand, and so on. And then the room has the chairs lined up very easily to find out where they're going to sit. There's also perhaps some information that says Toastmasters all around the room, especially the banner and maybe the lectern that has the Toastmaster emblem on it. But you want to make sure that, especially for those guests that come in a little bit late or just on time, that there's a chair always open near the doorway. You don't want these guests to come all the way to the front of the room and try to maneuver their way around bags and all kinds of stuff on the floor. We're entering winter time now as this webinar is being recorded, and it's so easy to begin the process of putting our coats all over the place and our bags everywhere. And of course, once it starts to snow wherever you are, it can easily be very wet around the floor. You get my idea. You want to make sure that that room is easy to navigate. Easy to refer to later. What I mean by that is after they are getting ready to leave the meeting, it's very important that they have contact information. That means those agendas should have some contact information on them. The handouts that you give them, the application should already have the contact person's name or even a little yellow sticky on it to say, if you have any questions, here's our information. If there's a follow-up email that's done with that guest, make sure that it has everyone's contact information, especially the VP of membership or at least the secretary, so that they can find out exactly who to contact later with questions or just simply who do I write the check out to. And then, of course, my favorite is easy on the eyes. Make sure your room is always, always clean, proper, and professional. If there's any chalkboards, believe it or not, there's some classrooms that I've been at that are Toastmaster clubs. Make sure the chalkboard's nice and clean, or at least just has information relating to the club, a whiteboard, any particulars with things with the banner. If the banner's due for a nice ironing board, make sure that it goes ahead and does that. Make sure your club members are dressed appropriately, and especially if it's a theme meeting. That way you let the guests know that, yeah, everybody's going to dress like a football jersey today, so don't feel awkward if you show up and you see us in our football jerseys. Let them know all of that, but make sure that everyone is dressed to impress, especially the Toastmaster of the day. That way they can know that they're in the right place, and that environment is very good. So remember, easy to find, easy to navigate, easy to refer to later, and of course, easy on the eyes. So now that guests come in, what do they experience when they walk into the room that day? The first thing is a smile. There is no way anyone will ever turn down a smile because they're contagious. Right away, when I see that guest come in, I smile at them. No matter what I'm feeling, the teeth are shining. Then, of course, I follow up with a handshake because I want to make sure that they know that they are more than welcome. And I welcome them immediately. I say, welcome to our Toastmaster Club. My name is, I introduce myself, Angel Guerrero. What is your name? Great. Who invited you here today? Oh, that's wonderful. We're so glad you're here. And then you repeat. And what I mean by repeat is someone else may want to go ahead and shake their hand, or I introduce them to someone else. Hey, Jane, Toastmaster member, here's the guest today. Let me introduce you. And I go ahead and do the process while I get a hold of perhaps the sergeant at arms or hand them some of the information that they need. Which leads me to the second point, name tags. Toastmasters of the day always have a hard time remembering names, and if there's a nice name tag on them with a big, bold first name, that's going to be very easy to make sure that they know who the guest is because they'll have those name tags. Then, of course, they could sign up the guest book. Always have a guest book because we want that information. We want to know their name, perhaps address, email, phone number, any which way we can get back in touch with them. And then I always hand them an agenda. I don't let them go pick it up. I hand it to them. And then I go ahead and make sure that they see that we're ready to go very shortly. So I'd like to introduce them to some other people, and I sit them, what we call the salt and pepper the taste. I sit them right next to or in between a couple of seasoned Toastmasters or any of the Toastmaster members there. Why is that? Because if they sit next to a guest, now you got two people that don't know what to expect. At least somebody next to them on their right or left is going to be able to say, hey, welcome, shake hands, smile, and of course the handshake, and then go through the agenda with them. Say, have you ever been here before? No? Well, let me tell you a little bit about what we're doing. And they introduce them briefly to Toastmasters while everyone else is getting to be seated. Now, if you're sitting across or somewhere in another part of the room and you see this tag shining out saying, hey, I'm a guest, don't just stay where you are. Get up and go greet the guest. Every Toastmaster should have met that guest that day or guests because they're going to know they're in a welcome environment. And let's face it, it feels really good. They're scared to be there, And you're already making them feel really welcome and excited for them to be there. So remember, smile, handshake, welcome, repeat, name tags, guest book, agenda, or any type of information also that you have for them. That's an additional there, like if you have any type of paperwork. Salt and pepper to taste. Always sandwich them between some Toastmaster members. That way they'll have questions to ask and somebody can guide them through the meeting. The well-oiled machine. This is my favorite part. This is our meeting. Toastmaster Club meetings are the best in the world. And I can say that boldly because here in District 37, we have nothing but the best. But they have to look professional and organized. And that's up to a lot of teammates. Your VP of Education, your president, and all the officers, and of course the members, to make sure that they're all prepared and ready to go. To make sure that the meeting starts on time. Here's my favorite trick. Let's say the meeting is a little bit delayed. No problem. You see that coming. The Toastmaster of the day or the Sergeant at Arms can just get up there and exactly the time the meeting's supposed to start, hit the gavel, say, welcome everyone, we're about to start in another 5 minutes, and then sit back down. That way the meeting officially did start in time, but to announce simply that it was a little bit delayed. It's an old trick, but it really does work because it shows the guest especially that, hey, we did start on time, but we're just going to be a little delayed. They'll get it once they leave the room. Organized, hey, we know that stuff goes crazy. Somebody may not show up, things like that, but take it with stride. Make sure you're professionally ready. You go through the agenda. You make sure that everything is ready to go and the guests are excited because they see the energy that that set of speakers already has. Now, as the Toastmaster gets up there or the president of the club, they look around the room, they see those name tags, it's time to acknowledge our guests. Now, this is very critical because you have to ask the right questions. If you go ahead and ask that guest, hello there, please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you. And wrong question. You're about to get a 5 to 7 minute speech in some cases. I've seen it, okay? The right question is just simply, welcome, please tell us your name and how you found out about us. And that's it. If you throw in any other questions, I guarantee you're going to have a tough time. That way, all they're going to do is just say, my name is Jane Smith, and my friend Joe over there introduced me to Toastmasters and asked me to come today. Then, right after they finish speaking, clap like crazy. We love to applaud. We applaud everybody. It doesn't matter who's standing up. We just applaud. That's what we like. But for our guests, we want to get them used to it, that we love to applaud. So always make sure about that. Then, of course, as the meeting continues, we want to watch out for the table topics session, okay? This is where I've seen a lot of guests suddenly turn tail and run. As the table topic master approaches the front, you want to make sure right away that they know that there's guests there, so they've already figured that out, and they proceed to set up the table topics. They'll let the guests know at that point that we would like you to participate, but before we do that, we'll let you see a couple of seasoned Toastmasters go ahead and try this out and have fun with it. So 1 or 2 members will go up and answer the table topic question. Then that last one, I will allow the guests now to participate, and I will ask them, Madam Guest, Mr. Guest, would you like to participate? So they already know that there's a table topic question coming. That's okay. Remember, they're guests, but this is their chance to literally experience for a brief moment, 1 to 2 minutes, what it feels like to be in front of a room of Toastmasters that are all excited to hear their answer. And guess what? It's going to be followed up by applause. How could they feel not any better by just feeling that they just had their first speech in front of the best organization on the planet and everybody applauded them? They have to get excited about that. So just remember, always be careful with table topics. Don't start with the guests, and make sure that they get a couple of seasoned Toastmasters first and know that they're on the clock and that they're going to get applause afterwards, and they shouldn't feel shy about it. The last thing is getting feedback. We're up to the end of the meeting now. You should have sometimes a buffer of 1 to 2 minutes, 3 minutes hopefully, maybe even 5. And now you go to the guests and you ask them, Mr. and Mrs. Guest, thank you so much for being with us today. Could you give us a little feedback? What did you like most about our meeting? They've already been through the general evaluation, so they get the idea that feedback's very important, so now they're going to give some feedback. And guess what? Most of the time they're so impressed that they just simply say something to the effect of, I'd like to come back. I'm interested in joining. This really seems like something I'd like to do. Any of those answers or variations of such leads us into our next phase, which is the meeting after the meeting. Now that you know how they feel, it's time to really start applying the meeting after the meeting. The first step here, I show that I have a couple of items that I'd like to share with the guests, and that is the benefits of Toastmaster membership. This one is really exciting because it goes ahead and really covers in bullet point format all the benefits. That's item number 354. And then, of course, finding your voice. Great topic, item 99. It covers a lot of good information about how important it is to find the method of speaking so people can hear you and really be heard. So that's a very important set of paperwork that you might want to have in your arsenal to hand those guests at the end of the meeting. And then, of course, the second point, I love to hand them an application. And not just a blank one, ladies and gentlemen. I like to hand them an application that is already pre-filled in that top section. It has our District 37 number. It has our club number. It has the club name. It already has a couple of boxes checked off. The English version, of course, of our information we're going to receive. It has already the club dues filled in so that they know that that's something that they're going to pay in addition to the other two fees. All of that is set up. And then I walk through the application with them. I show them that here's the areas they have to fill, their name, address, phone number, email, and then the retroactive fees that are there. If we're in December, if we're in January, here's what you have to pay, and then the one-time administration fee to TI. At that very moment, after I'm finished going through that application, I hit them with that one question you see in that third bullet point. Would you like to pay via check, cash, or credit card? Let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, this is not a snooze type of situation. This is asking for the money, point blank. They're there. They've experienced Toastmasters. They've already given some feedback. They need to know now how to pay and that this is going to cost X amount of dollars. But guess what? It is the smallest amount of cash they'll ever lay out for the biggest amount of personal development they can have anywhere in their life. Now, handling objections. Let's face it, they might have some questions. If they say that they'd like to bring the money next week, great. You just let them know. Great. We'll go ahead and get this filled out right now, right here, and then we'll get you just bring it back with your check. That's one objection. But they may have some other ones, like, do I have to come every week? I always answer that. You get out what you put in. That's how Toastmasters has been designed. We don't have an attendance policy, but we would like you to get the best out of it. And what we do is we assign you to a mentor. And that mentor will go over your goals. If you can only be here 3 times out of 4 weeks a month, then they'll make sure that you're getting the big bang for your buck for those 3 weeks. Is there other things that you do besides the club meetings? Again, answer those questions. If they're not sure, well, you have to ask them flat out, what are you not sure about? Is it the meeting? Is it the environment? Are you experiencing some apprehensions about joining? Then be quiet and let them answer. All of the time you're answering with a smile and you're really excited about having them there. And then don't forget to say thank you. They should know right away that you're very excited that they are among the top 2% of the population that has overcome or is getting ready to overcome one of the greatest 5 fears in our country, which is fear of public speaking. So thank them profusely. Let them know that they're very, very excited. You're very, very excited for them being there. I have had a great time being here today with you. And that next slide that's up there is just how to find me if you have any other questions by Facebook, or you can find me on my Carolina Christian Toastmaster Club Facebook page as well. But the biggest thing I'm excited about is that if you apply any of these skills today, that'll help your meeting be a pleasure to be around. These guests will experience something really wonderful, and they will join your club. They will be very excited because they've experienced something that they can't get anywhere else, and every week they're going to be excited to be at your club. Thank you so much for your time. My name is Angel Guerrero, and I've had a great time speaking to all of you.